Welcome to the class. Tonight we're covering action posing. It's going to be a continuity of what we did last time. Last time we used this guy right here that's on screen to basically like use a short practice. We practiced getting fluent with using this guy for shorthand figure puppet posing. If you're new to this class, that's okay. I mean, like this is all just practice mileage, and you can come in at any entry point to try to do observational practice. And these are very, very gestural and open. And the point of practicing this guy is to get fluent with him. So you're gonna have plenty of opportunity to mess with this little guy tonight. I'll do like a little demo later. Again, how I do a little quick demo later how to use this guy and stuff. But yeah. So what we have right now on screen is here, let's change it over here. So on screen right now, these two panels on the right here are Magma Studio. And on the left here is a Pinterest board full of a lot of inspirational material stuff. I might zoom that in a little bit. It's a little bit clearer. But there's a lot of like dynamic figures and constructed figures and other things like that, hands and all kinds of stuff. It's a Pinterest board I made a while ago of dynamic figures. I'll share it later, by the way. But there's lots of inspirational material in here that will give us lots of ideas of stuff we can mess with tonight, because the name of the game tonight is creating and inventing action poses for different kinds of action. Doesn't necessarily mean like fighting like going on here. It can be any kind of action. It can be like even a subtle action. But there's plenty of stuff right here that's going to be like on-screen inspirational material. I'll be scrolling up and down it periodically and stuff. And on the right over here, or on the left in your screen, it's on my right in real life, but it's on your left. This thing right here is going to be our timed gesture, our timed figure pose board, which we'll be doing 20-minute sets of. And what I want people to do tonight is I want people to do a mix of focused observational figure practice from this stuff here. And every now and then you can feel free to deviate a little bit and try to invent with the puppet, like try to invent some poses, try to get used to using him and loosen up using him. You can riff on what you're seeing on the screen here, or you can do more observational stuff, or you can do more invented stuff. But one of the things we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be taking some of the poses that we've done here, or creating and inventing some poses based on a particular idea or a prompt, like I don't know, like a really cool dynamic punch or something. And we're going to be trying to create before and after point poses and maybe some in between poses and stuff that are kind of like planning for animation. I might do some draw over demos of people's work if I see something that, especially if I see somebody who's either needs help or somebody who has done something cool that I might want to see if I can, that I see an opportunity to like create some key poses for like planning some animation out of. That's something that I've done before here. I'll actually have to dig through to pull out the example of me doing that previously. But we're gonna do something like that tonight. We won't really I don't think we'll get to animating this stuff tonight, but what I want people doing is I want people basically doing the guts of what you do when you're pre-planning your animation and putting down thumbnail poses or creating rough key poses, basically. I want people going through that thought process so I want people thinking about the before and after of the poses that they're seeing in front of them, and the or what could potentially or like what did happen. Like for example, this pose on the right here, spell player. Try to imagine like the poses that came before he went into this one. Try to imagine the poses that came after he went into this one and stuff. And we can do like kind of like analysis based on, like, for example, my understanding of how ball players move. The whole point is to kind of increase your ability to think through stuff fourth dimensionally and invent. So you can think like an animator, or think like a comic book artist or an illustrator that thinks in terms of dynamic motion. But in any case, we're going to be starting on a 20-minute figure drawing set shortly. But before we do that, I want to invite people to the Magma Studio app. I've got two panels of it up on the right here, so we'll be able to see people drawing on screen. When we get to doing that, I'm going to like hide the menu and zoom in like that. But We've got 4 instances of it right here. This 5th one I'm keeping for myself for now, but I'm gonna make some more if we need more. Feel free to draw in your own drawing app or draw traditionally or however you want. But if you want to draw with others, you can go to my Discord, and I'm posting the link in the section called Magma Studio links in my Discord down over here. So this will be Magma panel 1. And then Magma panel 2. Three. Panel 4. Anyway, that should be enough to start with. If we need some more, try to keep it to around 2 to 3 people per panel if you can. If we need more, I'll make some more. I'm keeping number 5 for myself. Actually, I'll make some more here. 1, 2, 3. So we skip 5 because 5 is mine, but panel 6. Panel 7. Panel 8. Cool. In the future, when I'm not going to have to load instances of the app. I'll just be able to tell people, oh, if we got 2 people on a panel, you can just jump over to another panel yourself. But yeah, if you want to draw together, do that. So we're going to get started on our first figure drawing set this evening. I'm actually going to maybe jump into Magma, I believe. Let me just do that real quick. Gotta get rid of all this garbage. So much trash open right now. So Magma Studio. Let's push this off screen where I don't need it because I don't really need Clip Studio at the moment. Hello. Yes. I'm going to start Home Resonance because this is a royalty-free song. It'll just loop annoyingly through our first figure drawing set. Until I get sick of it and then we change to something else. All right, so since I'm in the storyboard beta, I can just shift over to panel 5. But so you guys will be on screen drawing. Just adjust that there. Quite a few people on panel 3. I'm going to put this on panel 3 and panel 2, I guess, since there's like 2 and 3 people on those panels. Okay, Google, set timer for 21 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay, Google, set volume to 6. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
You've got 21 minutes and 24 seconds to go.
All right, we're getting started now. So this is a warm-up set. Warm-up set is you're pretty much open. It's pretty open-ended. You can try drawing a little bit of how if you know what we're kind of doing tonight, then you can get started on that. But otherwise, just try to do like some observation stuff. Loosen up your hand just kind of get keyed into observing the actions that you're drawing. I need to do a little bit of reorientation. I did some kind of really energetic warming up today because I'm coming a little rusty because I took a bit of a break from drawing yesterday. So I just kind of felt like I needed it. I did get a little bit of drawing yesterday, but just only a tiny bit. Sometimes it's good to take a break from the sensory overload. One sec, I'm going to close Clip Studio. Good evening. But yeah, on screen there's a visual. I figured I'd divide up the like we've got like good amount of people drawing on screen, and I can kind of shift between the different panels and stuff. Let me actually here get that stuff out of the way. But I figured it might be good to have some on-screen inspirational material from Pinterest right there. So I deliberately included like poses like this in there that are like there's not much going on in it, but there's like it's a little bit of a curveball. Like the poses are a little bit kind of straight on. There is some attitude in it, and you have to kind of hunt for it a bit. There's still attitude and posture and stuff to the pose. Okay, I'm already sick of home resonance. Let's just go back to the synthwave. The royalty-free synthwave I've been using for the last several class streams. So here's a strategy for all y'all. Let's say you're coming back rusty, and your hand and eye are not really in tune yet. You're not really quite feeling it. Before you do start getting more in tune again, take that as an opportunity to do some personal project creation. As in, like during the time when like you are not drawing your best, try doing like story development and things like that for a personal project, because it's like, I'm not feeling my best, but this is just my personal project thing that I'm working on. I'm gonna just like go right into it and not have any pretensions about whether I make good or bad drawings, and just think about story ideas and character ideas and stuff, and not worry whether the drawings are good or bad. And that is a good way to get to actually get a little bit of work done on your personal projects, which is something that I did before class. You just kind of accept, oh, my drawings are going to be poopy. That's okay, because I can always do better drawings later when I'm feeling it more. This is an excuse for me to get excited about coming back to art again, because I'll get off on the right foot of taking a stab at some personal stuff, personal project work. Personal project character ideas or stories or other things. But yeah, that's what I did today. It's part of getting warmed up. So you're going to be seeing me do a lot of a mix of drawing what's on screen with the rest of you. You're going to be seeing me do a mix of invented poses, and you're going to be seeing me do a mix of like studies and riffs on the dynamic poses that we see in the Pinterest board. So I'm trying to do my best not to really copy. I want to make stuff that's going to come alive on my own terms if I can. Like, so if I'm going to be doing something like from the Pinterest board. It's usually not going to be an exact copy. It's going to be some kind of a riff to create something of my own, of a similar idea. I don't know if we'll do it today, but I definitely want to take a look at some animation to break down and study for future classes. That's something that we've done in the past. Hunt down something on Sakuga Buru and do frame by frame and kind of make observations about it. Why it's doing the things it does. So when we are going to get into our action poses, start thinking about the subject of contrast. That means contrasting the poses with each other. Start thinking about how can you create a better sense of contrast between two different poses you create. Like how can you do that by pushing the pose? Can you do that by repositioning the pose so that like it goes along the opposite end of where like the other pose is thrusting or whatever. Because to create good action, you need a sense of contrast, especially in animation. Even in comics, that's the case. Like you'll often see like an anticipation for an action in comics, like on the preceding page or the preceding panel. That is like the tension and the release. Like I don't know. Probably one of the best examples of recent memory is like anything in My Hero Academia involving the primary protagonist using his superpower martial arts moves. His insane super strength. It usually involves like a charge up and a wind up before he punches. Same thing with All Might as well. Yeah, Deku's crazy dynamic punch. In fact, I might actually bring up some of that stuff. You know, let's do that. We're gonna look at anything tonight. We should look at My Hero Academia. So it'd be a good opportunity to think more about how the animators and how the manga artist actually uses principles of contrasting poses to create a sense of action and dynamics. Yeah, if you got a black screen, I think that might be on your end because like I'm watching a feed of my own stream right now. I didn't see that happen. Sometimes it happens, like for just random reasons in your own browser. And there can sometimes be like connection interruptions on my end too, so. But my bit rate seems to be pretty steady right now, so. Hopefully we don't have any further problems that extend beyond just one or two users being affected. Oh, also, if you happen to have a spare Twitch Prime sub and you enjoy the stream, feel free to throw the Twitch Prime sub my way. Every little bit helps for keeping these classes running. Presently, don't really make very much money at all off these classes. Maybe about like $100 every like month or so tops. But every little bit helps, and helps create a small class budget that I can use to fund little things and stuff. Like Magma Studio, for example. That's this pro version of Magma Studio where I can manage the classes like this. That's $10 a month, for example. And these monitors I got, that was a mix of out of pocket plus a little bit of donations from people here. I got two new monitors that are in use right now that are helping me run the stream better. And of course, there's our old friend, the Asaro head. When I start, I'm holding off on getting him because he's not a major priority right now, but I want to maybe pick him up if I anticipate doing another head drawing series again. And I'll have him like before I start that head drawing series, hopefully, or to get far into and get too far into it anyway. But I want to get the Asaro head when I have a larger working budget together, whether it be budget from gigs or budget from donations. Is there a way to have me full screen in the Discord without any other people on the call? I don't know. Oh yeah, there is. You can just double click on. You can push away to hide the members. There's also a pop out in a full screen mode right there. Oops. So we're just getting warmed up right now. So what we'll be doing for the action poses, we're going to do another set that's going to be kind of like a warm-up set after this, a secondary warm-up set too. But we're going to start strategizing about like how do we create action? And how can we create action out of some of the poses maybe that we're drawing? So in this case, these guys kind of occupy a big shape here, so I'm kind of using this as like a pseudo shape study a little bit. scrubbing down through the poses thing I have a little bit. So often when you come back from being rusty, and also like this also holds true for the people that are just getting warmed up right now too. You have like a lot of nervous energy you need to get out of you. That means you're going to be getting, that means you need to give yourself permission to make a bunch of shitty drawings. And just go fucking go nuts. Get like the blood flowing, and eventually like you'll start kind of slowing down and making smart decisions and stuff. But you got to give yourself permission to kind of just really cut loose. I did that a little bit before class, but I'm gonna maybe try to do some more of it like now a little bit. I'll be looking for opportunities to do that. So a common denominator of dynamic poses, especially in the stuff that's on screen right now and in the folder that I made on Pinterest of this stuff, is rhythm. There's always like a sense of rhythm. Like there's rhythm right here that I'm trying to construct and creating this pose that kind of plays into this rhythm right here. There's like rhythm and flow to the figure and the pose. So I sort of improvised a pose of like a character who might be like kind of regaining their balance or something. The name of the game tonight is to, well, first off, like increase your visual library by, drawing the poses that are on screen a little bit, especially for newer people who are kind of new to drawing from observation. I would strongly encourage them to favor doing that the most. But the name of the game tonight is going to be trying to design poses and then design additional poses that further elaborate on what happens with that action. You can design around an individual pose even to design like what's happening there in that still frame and kind of break down what's happening before you start drawing the additional poses too. That's something that we've done before. in here in past classes in the last few weeks. So we're going to be doing more of that tonight with some souped up stuff. Okay, Google, stop. All right, so I'm going to have everyone make sure you save your work as a PNG. Save your work as a PNG, but don't remove it from the screen just yet. But be ready to. Save what you've drawn so far, and we're going to be going on a 7-minute break. Okay, Google, set timer 7 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer for 7 minutes.
7 minutes, and that's starting now.
So, this is what I've done to warm up a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about some of what I've been up to today. So I'm coming back super rusty because I took a day off drawing, and that's just inevitable. If you take a day off like that, sometimes you need it. I try to avoid taking a whole day. Oh, I did like some drawing yesterday, like I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes or something. Try to stick to like the 15-minute rule. Try to put in like at least like 15 minutes of drawing a day if you can, even on your off days. That's what I did. But I was like more into other things and stuff, and I'm also trying to get rest and trying to relax and de-stress and decompress. So it's fine. I mean, it's totally fine to do that. But in any case, so when I came back today, I did the thing that I was talking about, where like you don't care about whether or not you make shitty drawings. And I was using actually the class demo file to warm up in it, wasn't I? But yeah, this is a revisit of an old idea that I'd had an idea for previously. So this is the hero of a short action story that I want to do with well, Cleo and the Wolf. It's a supernaturally charged teen fights a dangerous werewolf, and there's a very old drawing I have of these two, like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Here's the drawing right there. The posing is kind of messed up on him. Like if I was going to do this over again, this leg would be back over here, and that arm would. I think that some of this is kind of needs some plussing up. Like I would reposition that arm for sure, that leg back there, and also for his pose right here. I do like the kind of S-curve pose thing right here, but there's not really a sense that he's lunging at him. So I would kind of maybe do something to look more like he's kind of lunging at the kid. Some additional posing here. Yeah, like these are some really old drawings from my blog, like 4 years ago. Geez. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm returning to this idea a little bit because I'm thinking that like a simple idea like this would be something potentially to like develop or to use it as fodder for making like storyboard stuff. Here, let me fix something here. So I got like little doodly shitty thumbnails and stuff in there of characters. I like this kind of determined look on this version of Cleo right now. He I do like him being a very kind of driven hero, with kind of big open eyes. This is a more realistic version of him right here. I'm trying to maybe favor doing something more like this. Here's some additional like story sketches for him. Him the werewolf. I'm gonna probably develop this more. Like I have some ideas of the werewolf. Like the werewolf could be very kind of it's the undead style of werewolf that can like do kind of vampire like abilities and stuff. So he can actually the werewolf is like clinging to the ceiling and crawling across the ceiling like a vampire or something like a like vampires do sometimes in certain films or whatever. I want the werewolf to be kind of appealing and fun to look at, but also genuinely a threat. And I do want a humorous side to the werewolf because like the story is about this horrible horrifying beast terrorizing this kid who turns the tables on him and uses like supernatural strength to fight him. Some additional sketches. And also this is more of the shitty warm-ups that I was doing today. Some really shitty warm-ups of Astropug and Spacedad and stuff. Yeah, this is like the first page of drawings I did after coming back from not drawing yesterday. And anyway, like I said, it's a good idea to just jump right into a personal project because otherwise you'll trying to develop stuff for a personal project even when you're coming back rusty. Because otherwise you will wind up putting off doing anything with your personal projects. And it's a good idea. It's kind of liberating to just think about story and not worry about whether or not you're making a good drawing. So anyway, let's switch it back over to see what people are doing here. So, yeah. So, yeah, look, some good looking warm ups there. Let's take a look, see what some of the other panels are doing. There's a room for at least one other person on panel 1, by the way, in the Magnum Studio Link section. That one's down below. How long have you been drawing? Very cool. Like 4 years. At least people are talking to each other. Like 4 years, but I recently began with figure drawing characters. I was used to structures and other objects. That's neat. It's cool. Makru wrote that. Here's my page, of course. Panel 6 doesn't have anyone on it yet. If anyone wants to take over that spot. Okay, Google, stop. All right. I'm gonna start another set here. I'll start it on just like this guy right here. I'm gonna run out and grab some to drink and some quick snack, but I'll be right back. This is gonna be another kind of warm up set. Um, I may break in the middle of the warm up set to do a demo, but we'll see. First things first, I'm gonna get us started because I want to keep the rhythm going. I'm coming in here a little bit more warmed up than the rest of you guys, so I want you guys to double down on the warm ups. So make sure you have saved your work before you save a PNG of your work before you hide the layer and create a new drawing space. And okay, Google, set timer for 21 minutes, 30 seconds.
21 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's starting now.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some moisture slash Hello. I'm back. Uh, Someone got me a dinner salad. I'm gonna be munching on that a little bit, if you guys don't mind. Get some brain food going here. I'm watching what people are drawing and thinking and strategizing. So I hope the crunch of the salad doesn't get too ASMR-y. But if it does, I'll just mute myself. So I'm gonna dig in now. If my eating becomes annoying, please say so, and then I'll just mute myself while I'm eating. But I'm watching what people are up to. And I'll probably be talking with my mouth full, because I do that a lot. I actually have that already set up on both OBS and this. Yeah, I can already tell. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do much when I have my mouth full, so I'm going to mute myself. And I'll dig into a good portion of salad and I'll come back. I just linked the folder of dynamic character poses that I'm using. That's on screen there. The Pinterest board. Let me actually upload the pure ref of the figures that we're using tonight. Whoop. Oh, that file's too big. Ain't that a shame? I've usually just put it in Google Drive. Give me a sec. I'm gonna pop over to Google Drive and upload the file for Discord. Okay, so the folder's uploading right now. It's in a Google Drive folder. Well, that actually will let me link it in Twitch too, so that's handy. So it's in this. It's uploading into this folder. It's not uploaded yet. There's something else that's in that folder. There's an anatomy mix that is not the images that are on screen right now, but the other one is going to be uploaded. And in order to use it, you have to download a free app called PureRef, which is this app here. But you can export the images from that pretty easily, so it shouldn't be a problem. Oh, self-mute, sorry. And I'm back. All right. I'm gonna keep Magma open, but let's see. Maybe I can open up Clip and start doing some stuff there. Oops. Gonna need to for the demo for sure. I'm gonna start strategizing about my demo real quick. Let me put on one of the images from the last demo I did on this little reference area for me. I'm doing some strategizing right now about what my demo is going to be. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Feel free to mess around and stuff, but when we do get back from this 5 minute, make sure you have your what you've drawn saved, because we're going to be doing a draw along demo. I'm going to be doing a demonstration of showing you how to take a pose and then start thinking about it fourth dimensionally and designing an action around it. I may yoink some poses from people on the boards, on the magma boards that people are drawing on too. That might actually be pretty good if I do that. Let me actually shift through these to see if there's any poses that I see right now. That might be an opportunity for me to do that with. Sketchy Face is already getting into. Sketchy Face kind of knows what we're doing because we've done this before, so I can see them already starting to think in those terms a little bit with some of those notes that they're making. There might be some poses to use here. It's a little 30 seconds, I guess. A little more cartoony. Those ones back there. There's some stuff I could maybe use here. A couple poses maybe there, I don't know. Just only a few there, so it's hard for me to tell. Yeah, these ones I can definitely use. Kachi's starting to get a pretty good solid grasp of how to like say something with a pose. Tenacious, I could do demos of Tenacious. Looks like they're a little bit newer at this, but that's all the more reason to do a demo to show them how they can push things. Pigwidgeon, same thing, although they look a little bit further along, I would say, in terms of understanding the gesture from observation. Kelly also same thing, a little bit, I guess. Train's only got a few poses there, so I can't really make a judgment just yet. Yeah, I'll see. I don't know if I'll do the demo yet, but save your poses and post them in the drawing corner chat, and I can go through them again later to yoink into my drawing app to do draw over, and then maybe do an action study on. It's a remarkably large figure there. Okay, so I think it might actually be a good idea for me to take some poses that I did in previous classes to do this next demo. So I'm going to be opening up a whole bunch of these that we did from last class. The PRF. Right click, save as, and then all images. And it just blurts out all the images into whatever folder you select. All right, so I'm going to see if I can find if there's a pose in here that would be particularly suitable. Here's some right here. I think this one will be good because I actually started it as kind of thinking in terms of an action pose. Okay, Google, stop. But yeah, there's some stuff on there that I would definitely use for sure. Here, the Sisu doodles. All right, so I'm going to leave the, if you want to sketch the on-screen stuff, you still can if you like. But I'm going to do a demo right now talking about how to think about poses in terms of action. So this was from a pose that we did yet last Monday during my class. You can see, if you want to rewatch that later to see how I broke this down initially, you can. But this was from a photograph of a woman kicking a dude in the balls, basically, for like a self-defense thing. So, taking this pose that I've initially drawn, I start thinking about like what happened in the before and after. What's happening? What could be happening in the before and after in here? So, first thing that I'm seeing is that this foot is probably going to stay planted there because she's raising her leg off the ground. So there might be 1 to 2 poses, maybe 2 poses. Like there would like I'm thinking there'd be something like, and this is I'm going to use like thumbnailing to kind of pre-plan this a little bit. So the pose that we're in right now is going to be like this. I'm just going to do a quick little thumb. So that's the pose we're in right now. The pose that happened just before it is probably an anticipation pose. So let's see, like anticipation mid, contact, off, settle. So I'm starting to think of, I'm starting to strategize about what's going to be happening here. I've got a few ideas. One of them is that in the after point, I maybe want this lady to push this guy. So like, what's happening here is this guy's head has her hand on it, and his head is tilted up that way because she's pushing it up that way. But when she gets done kicking his balls, she's gonna like she's kicking his balls, boom, and then she pushes his head. She's gonna push his head down to kind of make sure that he goes down. He goes down to the ground, basically. It's also kind of a nice fuck you, basically. Uh, so some of the pre-planning I'm thinking of is like what was happening before this scene happened, which is like maybe the dude was like he was coming at the lady like this, like kind of leaned in and so on. The lady's like she's a little wary, so she's not totally off guard. But then at some point she reaches in. So at some point the dude reaches for her. He reaches for her. And then, but then she intercepts. Like, bam! She grabs his arm and stuff. Grabs his arm. While he's looking down at the arm, like, huh? Then she grabs his face. She grabs his face and pushes the face back. Now she grabs the face. She puts her hand in his face, making him recoil a bit with surprise. And as she does that, her leg starts to come up off the ground. And then, when her leg is anticipating the backswing, basically, she pushes the dude's head upwards like that. And then he comes forward a little bit, head still upward with her hand clawed over his face, when she swings up into his balls. Bam. So this is kind of like shorthand notes for myself. Maybe I should switch the monitor so you guys can see these these are very, very like crude. So this is like not really about making good drawings. This is about like making notes for yourself about what you think is happening to try to wrap your head around what's happening with the pose. You want to get through the thought process of thinking what's happening with the body mechanics of the two characters. So what we got with these two right here, this is the contact point, or like the heightened point of the action, basically, when the guy is getting struck in the balls. So what's happening here is his face is getting pushed back like that. She's yoinked his hand towards him, and his other hand is like, like that. She's yoinked his hands towards him, so there's going to be kind of like a weird shoulder thing. He's got kind of like a shoulder thing up there where he's trying to instinctively get away a little bit. So like he was trying to attack her, but then he's trying to get away. It's like very, like he doesn't have enough time to get away, but he was trying very briefly to get away, basically. You can see like the anticipation of him trying to get him realizing he's kind of put himself in a bad spot or picked with the wrong person. So she's really thrust her hips forward. May even want to have her on her like the ball of her foot here. Made his hips rise up. She's really kind of counterweighted her to like use the guy's weight against him a little bit. So let's see here. Wanted to really exaggerate what happened before. I could do something like, okay, her buttocks is back over here a bit. So his body's going back up like this. His hips are going this way. He's still in kind of a somewhat of a predator stance. His legs crouched, but they're kind of coming up a bit. Like in an earlier stance, he might be a little bit more kind of lungy, tigerine step. But when she puts her palm on his hand and yoinks his arm, so he can't really get away from the ball kick. Then he's held in place basically for this attack. Like this is to make sure that she gets off the attack where she's going to be aiming it to bring him down. So presumably she can flee away, or she can, or apprehend him or something. Yoink. His hand is over there. So we keep it really loose and scribbly when we're thinking through this stuff. But then you can always go back in and like make some stuff to clarify things. And this is just an action study. I'm not really doing this to any particular character model or anything. Sort of using like these shorthand figures, similar to the ones that we've been practicing, to kind of understand and plan the action. I could potentially put this action on very different characters than these proportions. But this is to understand the action for myself and plan it. So what would his other arm be doing? Like something like this, maybe? As you can see, when I flip this back and forth like this, you can almost kind of see the action a bit. And you can maybe even see some stuff that I could probably change, potentially. But this would be a good opportunity to actually bring this into animation too. I'm gonna maybe do that. So, let's see here. Put that there. All right, so use the animation template in clip. Everything good? Okay, good. Let's do that. So let's just do, I'm just gonna use straight up screenshots to do this. Let's see here. Oh, also, that reminds me, there's something I wanted to share with you guys. It's a type of Japanese dancing that I wanted to talk a little bit about because it's fantastic for animator reference. I'll maybe mention that during the next break. So we got this. We got this pose here. I'll just straight up screenshot this. Yeah, there's a type of Japanese dancing that I'm brain farting the name of, but I have stuff saved of it from YouTube. That is kind of like people moving in a very jerky manner. It's a Japanese modernist dance that was developed in the 1960s. It's kind of loosely combined with like no theater ideas. Um, but it's really interesting and it's used a lot in horror cinema and also horror games with mocapped horror actors and stuff. So here we go. Will let me onion skin it? Yeah, it will. Goody. So we can immediately see like how the poses contrast a little bit. And also there's some areas where I probably maybe could modify them a little bit. Like, let's see here. Duplicate that. Let's get this. Maybe dark red for this. Yeah, I think there should be more of a sense that she's pulling him down. So his body's going to do this more. And his head goes that way. I think that works better. So her head's looking this way, and then it goes this way. Head's looking that way, her head's looking kind of this way a bit. She's got her eyes are looking up there, but her face is that way. Okay. I'm kind of guessing where she might end up after. That other leg, this leg is closer towards us. So this is the same leg as that right there. I make a little mark there to remind me there. She's going to be a little bit lower down. I wanted to maybe look like a little bit more like a practice martial artist, like she's ready to anticipate if he jumps up again or something, and she's getting ready to flee, maybe, but she took him down. So he gets kind of pushed back in the air here. Crunch. And his legs are up off the ground, so he's going up over that way somewhere, I think. So he's gonna probably on this panel, he's probably gonna wind up somewhere like doubled over on the ground. Ooh, clutching his crotch. Something like that. So what happens in the interim between that is the question. He probably lands somewhere over here. Well, wherever he lands, he's going to be doing this. I think I have a little pool of vomit here. Maybe he vomits when he comes down or something. Like he clutches himself for a bit, wobbles, and then like maybe anticipates, and then maybe pukes in that direction instead of this one. Well, he pukes more towards the foreground, like not on her. If he was more in control of his faculties, he'd try to puke on her, but he's just like he's just like, oh, it's too much pain for him to really kind of think. I think maybe like I think maybe it would work better if she's like in this pose while he's puking. Yeah, well, it's a little hard to copy paste that. Um, yeah, she's in. If work better, if she's in this pose while he's puking, and then let's see here, duplicate. Down 7. And then by this pose, she's like kind of come to the conclusion, oh, this guy's done for, or whatever. This guy's pathetic, basically. So it's probably going to be something like after she kicks him up in the air like this on this panel, like he winds up on the ground, or where he winds up like with his feet on the ground. I mean, over here somewhere, kind of wobbling and wavering. Maybe he takes a step back or something. Make little notes about that. So what pose should she be in him by this point? Maybe go up and act it out. How would I pose myself out? Let's see here. Oh, I know. Okay, this is what I probably do. So she gets a little bit more balanced out here by this point. Legs up, kind of raised knee stance. So getting ready to kind of rebalance herself on the ground. She's let the dude go at this point. So something really. But her arms would still be forward, I think. some filler frames. Want to get like I want to get like a good ways into this basically, because I think I might want to try. This will probably be the scene that I do an animation of. Maybe do some more pre-planning for it next Friday. This is like thumbnail storyboards of what's happening. It's enough to kind of maybe use like a rough animation pose test, I'd say. But you can kind of tell what's going on. There needs to be preceding panels leading up to this. But yeah, what's happening here is she anticipates, kicks him in the balls. There needs to be a let go, a release point somewhere in here. Like, maybe the arm that was going to release him is still up like this. Maybe it's pushed up over that way some. It's keeping her eyes on him, I think. So I'm going to go a little bit further into this, but did I even set a timer for this demo? Thought I did. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
It looks like you don't have any timers set at the moment.
Well, in that case, we're going to take a 5-minute break, but then I'll help us do another figure drawing set, and I want people to maybe think about what poses that they're doing tonight that they can break down into an action study like this. Start thinking about adding like 1 or 2 poses before and after the action, or maybe even like pushing or changing the action as you need in order to create some kind of a little story. But you see, like it's starting to come together as like a little bit of a descriptive story of what's happening here. And this is like how you start. You're planning for animation or boards or comics or whatever. You do it really, really rough. You just concentrate on like the impression of movement, the impression of action. Because when you get something that can like feel good at this phase, then then it just becomes a matter of like putting the good figure drawings on top, putting it like on the plugging in like good figure drawings or good character drawings or whatever. Like these would not necessarily be my animation frames, but these would be like the pre-planning for that. Let's see here. Let's add this to the class demo file here. Beauty. So you don't have to necessarily draw over the top of what you're doing like I did. Like you can draw alongside yourself, or you can use like you can draw like little posing things. You can draw like little poses like these kind of as like your thumbnails. Just draw them like in sequence alongside each other. And you shift your eye between them to create like the impression of motion, basically, when you would do something like that. Like you'd line up poses kind of like this, and then you just shift your eye back and forth between them. to create the impression of motion that you need in order to figure it out. Let's see here. There's one more panel I wanted to add here. Yeah, now when I play it, it starts to look a little bit like it's animated, doesn't it? So there's a type of theater that was invented in the 1960s in Japan, in the modernist theaters, that became really popular in film, especially horror films at the time. And it's called Buto. But here's some Buto performers, for example. It's a video of some Buto performers here. Creative Commons. But the Buto performances, they can be very modernist, they can be very abstract. A lot of times they're used for horror and like for ghost houses and stuff, but they are about more than just that. They can be really like kind of abstract and expressionist. It's about mixture of really smooth, kind of like almost ethereal movements and like a rhythmic jerking and horrifying facial expressions and stuff. Here we go. Buto first appeared in post-World War II in Japan in 1959 under the collaboration of Katsumi Hijikata and Kazuo Ono in the protective shadow of the 1950s and 1960s avant-garde. A key impetus of the art form was a reaction against the Japanese dance scene then, which Hijikata felt was overly based on imitating the West and following traditional styles like No. Well, even though that this does take inspiration from No. Thus, he sought to turn away from Western styles of dance, ballet, and modern. They created a new aesthetic that embraced squat, earthbound physique, the natural movements of the common folk. The desire found early form in the movement. Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, there's more you can read about it here, but Buto's got a really nice tradition going of performance going back all the way back to the 1960s. But there's some interesting videos on Buto performances on YouTube. I'm not going to play them because they're going to be getting boinked if I do. But you should really watch these. This one's a German Buto dance by a German performer. This one's more on the like kind of abstract high art end of things. It's almost like they're like a twitching corpse, or they're a puppet, or like they're an android that's just obtained consciousness or something. You can kind of invent a narrative about what is happening in this performance. This is what I really like about it. And yeah, here's a Buto dance performance that was kind of an internet sensation back in 2007. I'm probably gonna get boinked for these, and I'll have to remove these clips. Damn. But yeah, this is a really wild performance right here. So I like these. I like the art back here because the art looks kind of like. Um, the arts are like print things or something, giant 3D kind of the kind of repeating texture mold or something like that. But they look like they were made from someone clawing their hands at the clay, basically, which kind of fits the mood of the performance. And there's some documentaries on Buto, like what is Buto right here, and one that I found really good. Let me see if I can find it. What's it? Oof! Oh no. Uh, let's see here. Kazu Ono, the Dead Sea. That one's a really good one. Buto. I think that's it right here. This might be it. Oh no, wait, no, wait, no, I found it. It's a Buto after the horror, right here. It's showing off like the boot. This guy was somebody who's actually performed in many horror games. This is an older documentary, although he's done more work since then. He was actually like face scanned to the game Forbidden Siren, or aka Siren, and they used him for mocap performances in that game, like the really unnatural movements of the undead in that game. Yeah, it's a really interesting documentary. They talk about it in there. But yeah, like Buto's worth checking out. There's another German form of dance, expressionist dance, that I'll save for another time because it's its own thing. But I wanted to share that with you because there's good inspiration in that. Anyway, so yeah, so I got this started, and I maybe want to continue it next time I'm here. I'm gonna look for other opportunities to play with action tonight, but I wanted to at least get a little bit far into this one. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
It looks like you don't have
Fucking
any
hell, are you
timers set
kidding
at
me?
the moment.
Okay, well, we're gonna start another figure drawing set. So I hope you guys have been keeping yourselves busy in spite of me losing track of the timers during that demo. So we're gonna be starting the figure drawing set. Just give it one more minute. Um, okay, Google, set timer for 21 minutes 30 seconds.
21 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's starting now.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to my drawing, my Clip Studio drawing board here. So I give myself plenty of space to work on stuff. Let's put those away. All right. So we're officially started the next pose set. Let's just get going. I think for the rest of the evening, let's concentrate on just getting some good pose mileage in and think about what we can do if we see an opportunity to design an action. Maybe design one or two poses. Another thing you can do is a little bit what I was doing, which is an action breakdown. You can start making notes over the pose, little arrows or other indicators about where you think the limb is traveling, what direction you think things are going, like little notes for yourself about what's happening there. Like, see, I've got about 40 seconds left in this pose. So this guy is kind of braking, but changing direction a little bit more over this way, I would say. So make a little arrow there to kind of indicate that a bit. So looking over that way. Shoulders kind of rounded because he's sort of anticipating reacting to something. The opponents that he sees over there. So now we got another thing like this. Maybe let's try to think of what's happening in these for the rest of these poses. That might be good. Let's get some action thinking and making notes about what's happening in them as we go. So this guy that I'm drawing here is the guy that was trying to block the ball, I think. Oh, wait, no, this is the guy who threw it in. This is the guy who threw the ball in the net. Ball's gone in the net thanks to him. His hand's reaching over the edge of the net. This guy right here was trying to block the shot. This guy down here, it looks like he's coming down, I think. So I think he's headed down that way. This guy right here might still be headed up, but this guy's headed down. This guy's like just after the main peak of his action when he got the ball in the net. So his hands kind of flipped over the edge of the hoop. Yeah, this guy's going down. That guy's going up. And this guy just couldn't. This guy just barely missed the other guy dunking. So this guy's arm like came up over this way like that, I think. This arm went down from wherever it was. And it's resting on his thigh, actually. Against his body a little bit, I think. That leg going that way. So I'm thinking he's going down. He's actually going down because he jumped in here and like hooked his arm around. So he's kind of coming down from the peak of his jump a little bit. Muhammad Ali. I will skip this one. So this is like a good ways after the action occurred. But I mean, you're if you want to, it's a famous photo. If you want to use that one, feel free to. This one's a little bit more viable for what we're trying to do, I would say. So this is an anticipation. They are about to push their body up that way and shoot the force coming up from their legs and the weight of their hips and their and the power of their feet pressing off the ground to put that force into this spear, to fling that spear. The head is going like this. Did you see that little thing in the Buto documentary? Apparently there's something to do with a Buto cult of some kind. I don't know what that's about. Or maybe someone was just using Buto imagery in a documentary warning people about some weird Japanese cult or something. I don't know. Because Buto's just dance. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of like arts cult around it or some shit. Buto's dance, and the documentaries that I saw with people talking about the dance were very, very sensible about what the performance was, so hopefully, hopefully there's not any connection there. Anyway, like part of where Buto came from though is it was also a post-war reaction to Japan having the atomic bomb dropped on them. Like a few famous Buto performances were tributes to the suffering and the horror that the victims of Hiroshima and Nagasaki went through. And so I'm a little bit sus about whatever's going on there, because like the 50s and the 60s of Japanese arts kids, there was a lot of like anti-war, anti-authority type folks around that time. So I don't know. It always does suck because like I like futurism, but I if you know anything about where futurism came from and the people who created it, yeah. It's not to say that there's not futurism that's divorced from like um, those really awful things. Well, anyway, getting back to this. So, got this guy here. This leg is coming out in front here, making contact, or about to make contact. I think he's off the he's off the ground because yeah, that's his shadow. So his foot's actually off the ground. His shadow's down here. Like I'm gonna pretend that there's a shadow straight up above him. This is what his shadow's like right here. How he is. His hips are a little bit more shifted forward because they're kind of carrying some of his weight, I think. I think he's doing a long jump. I don't think he's running. I think he's doing a long jump in that. So his hips are shifted forward. But even in small ways, let's think about action here. There's no action to be found here. This is not any like major action, but so this guy's just standing still. But we could probably invent something here about how he got into this standing still pose. So first we'll just do a quick kind of thing to get his like basic posture in here. Get those compressed arms in. We just want something simple and quick so we can understand and elaborate a bit. It's got a pretty wide stance, and they're holding the right there. His head is kind of forward. So if we think a little bit about what he did to get into that stance, here's seen powerlifters lift. He probably did a squat originally off the bar. No, wait, I know what he did. So he lifted those barbells off the thing that's behind him. You can see at what level he raised them from. So at some point he bent down underneath it, rounded his shoulders in and stuff. But he's not lifting from his back, he's lifting from his legs. So I'm exaggerating this a little bit, but he basically like squatted under the bar. And probably had a wide stance so he could give himself plenty of room to straighten out. He could kept his feet in roughly the same spot as they would be there. So his knees went out a little ways. And he goes up. So this guy, there's not really too much action to be found in this one, but let's take a shot at it. It's even the stuff where there's not like super dynamic things that might be an opportunity to look for something. So he's like leaning over this way. He's got his weight on one leg here. His weight's a little slack on the other leg. His body's kind of leaning forward a bit. I think he's sort of sizing up the batter or doing some calculating. He might have like kicked some of the dirt under his feet. In fact, I guarantee you that he did that at some point before he got into the stance, because I see the dirt kind of looked like it's been scuffed a bit. But he's like glaring like a tiger over there. So I'm thinking like He's kind of swaying. His arms are kind of staying loose. I think he's got the ball in the mitt there. He might have thrown the ball into the mitt before he went into this pose. Then he's going to, at some point, he's going to reach into the mitt and take out the ball. Then he's going to go into the pitching stance that he decided on from going through this thought process. So even though we didn't get much down out of that, it was a good opportunity to think about thought process. So this is just a stagnant model pose, but maybe we can invent something out of it. Let's try stuff that is a little bit unorthodox to trying to do an action thing. So there's a model doing a model pose, kind of a sportswear sort of thing. This might have been shot for artist reference too, though, but looks like a sportswear thing, though, to me. So what could we do with this? Well, I could think about like where her weight shifted before she wound up in that pose a little bit. That might be a good idea. So she's on her tiptoe here, and she's got her heel down here. Hips are kind of like this. Her shoulders are like that. Her torso's doing this a bit. So I'm thinking that her hips shifted that way before I move on to the next pose. Thinking that her hips shifted that. Whoop, what the hell's going on here? Are you kidding me? Fuck. Oh, okay, that's what happened. Okay. So her hips shift. Well, it's a little bit too late to get too far into that, but oh well. I was gonna go into like a little bit about how her hips shifted to the side, but oh well, not enough time. So here's a guy who's mid-stride. The opportunity to mass in the torso a little bit. The box form for the pelvis down below. So he's not looking too hot. He's probably going to bench or something to get checked out for the scrapes he's got from a tackle or something. So he's heading over that way. His head is kind of cockeyed this way, like that. It's looking that way. So I think that arm is swinging that way. This arm is kind of going up this way a little bit, but then it's gonna loop around and come back down a bit. I think it looks to me like this arm is going that way and that arm is going this way. There we go. Finally an action pose. An actual, like, real action pose. Action pose. But this guy. He ran towards this, and he's leaping over it. It's going to continue onward when he lands on the other side. So it is definitely helping me, like, my thought process, talking out what I'm observing happening, too. Remember, when you're doing these action studies, you want to be, like, kind of making a dialogue in your head of mental notes about what's happening. Me talking out loud about them definitely helps me do it. Try to do a dialogue with yourself about what you see happening in the pose. I can already kind of see, like, him back here a bit, getting ready, like leaning in more, anticipating the jump, bending his knee down as he steps in. I think. So which is the leg that leaped? The front leg is not. I don't think the front leg is the leg that leaped. The back leg is the leg that leaped, that pushed him off the ground. Or it could be wrong. Let me try this. Let me try to visualize what happened. Let's take a look at some high. Let's take a look at some high hurdlers. Let's see how hurdlers run. Yeah. So the back leg is the leg that pushed him off the ground. The front leg is just to clear is to heft up, to carry momentum up where it's going to help to like get the leg over and clear the hurdle. So there we go. Use that as an opportunity to understand what happens when people are clearing hurdles in hurdle races. In fact, I'm going to take a little detour real quick to make a note about that. So we got a hurdle here. I'm going to use red here for my hurdler. They got one leg up and one leg back. I'm going to make back leg blue, front leg up is red. Just going to make a little note about that. That's something I learned today. All right, so this dude. There's a lot going on here. If you look at the background, there's a lot going on from this guy's expression. I'd love to find out what the context for what happened here is, but let's maybe try to guess or create a scene out of what's happening here. So he's pointing, he's yelling. What's he doing? Like maybe like this is just after. This might have just been after he scored. Okay, Google, stop. And that's the goal. That might be the goalie back there, who tried to defend and failed, and is on the ground because they tried to leap to block the shot or whatever. And now he's just like, he's like still in motion, so he's still like carrying the momentum that he took himself across the field to hit the ball in close to the net or whatever, close to the the goalie. He's got this great thrust him. From how his heels are and stuff, it really looks like he looks like he's like kind of rounding around the edge of the field here. And he's going out of bounds, it looks like. So that's why I think that this might have been happened right after someone scored, because when they score, then it's okay for him to just like keep running out of bounds. Let's change it from this. That's not a good action. There we go. But we'll pause it on this and take a 5-minute break. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and that's starting now.
Nice. So yeah, I do like what we're doing with these, like thinking about the action. We're not just like brainlessly kind of replicating the pose. We want to think about what's happening here. And if we don't see anything happening there, like what can we infer there that might be happening? Where's the momentum going? What's the action? What could this be? What would the poses preceding, before, and after this be in either reality or something that we come up with to design for animating? Start thinking in those terms. Also, all the poses I've drawn here are perfectly usable for like a storyboard or something. Like these are all really rough and crude, but you can tell what's going on, and then if you need to clean them up a bit for like a storyboard to make them more apparent in a storyboard, it's not too much of a stretch. I mean, like here, let me show you an example. Like these super rough poses that I've done. For example, let's see here. There we go. So you got that. And then you can either leave it like that and just like add some kind of doll-like breakdown of the body. Something closer to what the proportions of the character model for the production you're working on are like. Or you can get more elaborate and like start. Like this is a super crude and shitty version of something that storyboard artists will do. So that's so like this, but way better drawn than what I did. But I mean, it's the same idea of like you can just do like a you can do like super crude stuff like this, and then you can do like a clarity pass to make it more readable, or like more of the features of the character on it or something when you're doing your boards. And like I said, like this, but better drawn than I drew it. Uh, Give me a bit, dude. So a little quick mock-up there. Kind of realign myself with the puppet that I'm using. Okay, Google, stop. All right, let's take a look at your art, Spiked. So, yeah, I don't know really I can. Well, first off, I have to, I mean, like, I can't really critique this because it's at a bad angle, so it's a little bit warped. But as far as drawover goes, but so try to get photographs of your work that are a little bit more flat. The other thing is that it's the same issue. Oh, I do see you improving a little bit, but it's the same issue again that I've told you about before, which is you're trying to do too much too early. I think you should peel back to doing the line of action studies that I showed you the other day, because you're trying to like do too much of the limbs and stuff. You don't really know about figure construction yet, and you don't really understand perspective too much yet. So you need to clear away as much extra information as you can to just concentrate on something really simple. So I'm going to prescribe to you, please try to keep your figures really, really simple, and try to maybe just like try to maybe concentrate on line of action, if you can. Like here. Let's see. Whoop, wrong thing. Line action out. So let's see here. So Alex Wu's done some stuff here that shows this kind of off, but yeah, like this kind of stuff. Like trying to describe the pose in as simple lines as possible. Like you're trying to get at the idea of the pose, basically. And you want to describe that in as simple a line as you can. So try to take like at least a minute to do a minute or 30 seconds to do these. We're on 2-minute poses, but I want you to really establish this before you do anything else. The other thing I'm going to have you do in addition to that is I want you to do the continual line exercise. So what the continual line exercise is, when you draw, you don't lift your hand up off the page, and that forces you to start thinking about the figure as a singular unit, or the thing that you're drawing as a singular unit. Instead of so like, for example, let me use this guy on screen as an example. Like for the continual line exercise, you still want to use like a simple line of action like that for like the whole figure stuff. Like if I was doing the 30-second thing, I might do something like this or that. But the continual line exercise, like you would start something like this, then you wouldn't take your hand up off the page. You'd try to like sculpt in and start try to think of the figure as one unit. Oh, kind of messed that up. So then you start thinking a little bit more how stuff correlates to each other. Like I'm correlating the feet here to each other, correlating the knees to each other and stuff. Start like building off the body a bit, stuff like that. Let me grab another pose to give a better example if I can. Like this guy here. Start him like this, and then came around and I added his other leg in here, following a similar sort of simple line of action. Simple line of action of the shoulders. But everything kind of plays off each other. I'm thinking of the pose as like a singular unit that's creating this kind of energy going through it. And I start thinking more in those terms by not taking my pencil off the page. But I want you doing a mix of both of these. The first thing I want you doing is I want you to get a lot of the 30-second poses under your belt. Like, for example, this guy that's on screen right now. Like, something like this. That might be all you draw for him, basically. But I did that really quickly because I've done this before. I want you to really slow down and think. Spend at least a minute. It is possible to actually spend two minutes on these, especially if you really do. But I want you to try to get really clean strokes. So this is not just about observing the action and trying to describe it in as simple lines as possible, but it's also an exercise for you to not overcomplicate things for yourself, and to work on pen, and it helps with your penmanship too. So yeah, that's what I'm going to prescribe to you. I want you to do a mix of I want you to do like some poses as the continual line exercise, or some sets of poses as the continual line exercise, and some sets of poses as the Japanese cuneiform simple character that that you're supposed to eventually only do in about 30 seconds. But this is going to be a big discipline exercise for you, because I know you want to jump in and you want to do the whole figure and stuff, but you really need to kind of pull back, because you're taking on too much too soon, and it's like you're gonna have a bad time doing the other stuff without getting like line of action, getting a good sense of line of action first under your belt. So anyway, hope that helps. So let's take a look at trains. Yeah, trains, these are looking pretty nice. What I would watch, kind of like there's some kind of imbalance thing going on here. Like it kind of feels like he's gonna fall over backwards. It doesn't really feel like he's quite running in place a little bit. But then there's other poses here that work much better. Like, so this one looks like he's kind of dribbling in place right here. How you did him. And remember how we, and I know you made a note at the floor, but let's see how I handled it. See what I did with it. If it's on this page. Here it is. Right here. You can see like I made this a little bit more active and stuff. He kind of looks like he's like he's ready to take action, or go to the next action, or react to something stuff. Like so like you want to play up the drama a little bit of what's happening with these poses. You want to have fun with it. Remember, it's not about copying what you're seeing. It's trying to take what's happening there and interpret it and understand it, and use it in your own way, and design something that kind of plays off the same idea. Like think like it's not about replicating what you're seeing. It's about the drama and the action that's going on underneath it. I think you get what I'm saying, but I want you to highlight that idea in your brain when you're doing these, because then it's less going to be less. You're going to be struggling less to try to imitate what you're seeing, versus riffing on what you're seeing to make something interesting, if you get what I'm saying. And you did that a little bit here and there. Like I'm feeling that a little bit here, even though it's a quick thing. I'm feeling it here. I feel like the attitude here. I feel like you had some attitude in mind with this pose. I feel it a little bit in here. I feel this is a little bit kind of unclear because there's a lot going on here. but there's like a tidbit of it. Nah, that's a little bit too vague. But it's mainly like this one. I feel it in, and I feel it in this one. So let's see here. Okay, Google, set timer for 21 minutes, 30 seconds. All right, so everyone.
21 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's starting now.
Yeah. So, make sure you save your work before you clear out a drawing space and get ready. We have about a minute 30 seconds before you officially will start. This next set. And I think this will actually be our last set for the evening too. Sadly, I want to apologize. I kind of lost track of time during the demo. Otherwise, we would have gotten at least one other set tonight. But there's always Friday. So Friday, I'm going to maybe see about returning to that other pose that I did, or another pose. I want to keep the ball rolling on action study stuff. Thinking in terms of action is what's going to bridge the gap for us with animation and storyboarding right now. Remember, the way I do these classes is I always try to chase something that I feel is going to cover some kind of base or like refresh our eyes in some way. Like if this starts to get too much and I kind of feel like we need to go to long poses, we'll do that instead. I usually decide what we're going to be doing in the class the day that we're going to do it. But it's always an educated assumption because I've kind of learned to detect what we should probably do a little bit better lately. Just over the course of having done these classes for like the last year or so. Anyway, so we got this guy here. What is he doing? It's an Olympic event. Is he clearing a bar, like a pole vault thing or something? What's going on here? Can anyone smarter than me identify what this guy's doing? Yeah. So he's holding... Yeah. So that's going off to the side, I think. And he's going up and over, maybe? It's a little hard. I think I need to look at more like things of a pole vaulter to really understand what's happening there. But the pole vaulting to understand what's happening there. But my best guess is that he's going up this way, and that the pole is like kind of going off over somewhere else. And am I wrong, or is like did he like hit the pole, hit the bar, and the bar's traveling with him or something? Yeah, he hit the bar is traveling with him, and he's going up and over. Okay. So it was like a botched pole vault, basically. So this is a really nicely dynamic shot right here. You can look at the foot, you can look at the feet, and you can detect what direction they're kind of heading and where they came from pretty nicely on this. This is a retouched photo, so there's probably a little bit of tomfoolery going on here to make this even more dynamic than it was in reality, but that's okay for our purposes. Pretty cool. I just use like a mass of a moon shape right here, using those Alex Wu shapes to kind of mass him where the space he occupies there. His hip is kind of tilted down a bit. His upper body's kind of doing that. This guy's hips are about like this, and his shoulders like that. So his torso's twisting that way. This guy's torso's doing that. They are heading. He's making a quick directional change. This guy's trying to keep up with him. Just doing something more like this, trying to intercept him and block him. It's a pretty great shot. Michael Jordan. I forget, there was something like people were mad at him about recently. Also, I want to give a tip to everyone here. Stay very far away from stupid culture war spats on Twitter. Like, I don't know, fucking Lola Bunny or the Dr. Seuss shit or anything like that. I mean, that's just stupid. It's like even engaging with that, it's acknowledging how dumbass and pointless the argument is. Like just stay far away from that shit. Everyone's got to have strong dumbass opinions about Lola Bunny or whatever, one way or the other, and they got to argue with each other, and then you got to be defensive about it or something like that. And it's like, who gives a fuck? It's dumb. Dumb, pointless squabbling over such low stakes. I mean, even the Dr. Seuss stuff is just kind of fucking whatever. The publishers decided that they're not going to publish books that have like kind of very dated caricatures in them. Let me put it that way. And that's up to them. That's not like censorship. That's their decision not to publish. No one forced it on them. But the way it's presented, like immediately puts everyone who like gets into that discussion like on the way it's framed by the people who've been cynically playing it up. You immediately have to get defensive about it, and it's just a stupid fucking distraction. People are dying of COVID and losing their jobs right now, and we got much more important things to worry about than fucking squabbling over Lola Bunny and Dr. Seuss. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I thought it was fake too. It's like, who gives a fuck? It doesn't fucking matter. I mean, there's no shortage of like horny fan art of Lola Bunny to begin with, so this guy is making a really nice leap. He's got like kicking his legs back. It's really cool, really awesome scene. He's zeroing in right into that hoop. His arm is actually going behind the hoop, and it's going to be like dimensionally behind the hoop as he's coming up. He's gonna slam that ball down to dunk it. He's really kicked his legs back because he's like taking a lot of. He was probably like taking like a lot of forward momentum when he leapt up there, kicked his feet back, kicked his legs back in there. That's a really impressive shot for sure. Can't sleep 'cause my bed's on fire. Don't touch me, I'm a real live wire. How can we sleep when our beds are burning, though? How can we dance when the earth is turning? So the guy, we see the hand of someone who looks like they're trying to block his shot, and then this guy's trying to do like this is an extremely tall man with giant feet is trying to do what looks like possibly a free throw. Let's see here. Think a little bit more about his body. He's got kind of that kind of looks like he's got kind of like a chicken rooster sort of thing going on here with how he has his chest up. His head is kind of back that way, turning that way. Yeah, there's this really obvious like overall thrust to his body like that on there. It's really leaning forward too. That's something I didn't capture in my initial pose. Let me see if I can fix that. There's actually a tilt to his hips that's helping to reinforce what's happening there. So maybe I'll scribble into this the time I have left. Kind of push that some, even though this is really crude. Just want to get like kind of a little bit of I'm gonna wrap my head around the feeling of the action, even though this is a really crude drawing. We're definitely learning a lot about dunking today from observation. So that ball's going in there. The dunk has to rise above the hoop in order to go in. So the arm always has to go a little bit ways above in order to do a dunk. So this guy's going to keep traveling upwards towards the hoop. He's got that lovely heroic chest thrust. There, he looks like a superhero, like mid-flight, getting ready to deliver a powerful blow on whatever evil bad guy is menacing the world. And I love the intense expression on his face too. If I was doing more expression studies, I definitely want to draw some of that. Just raise this up a bit. Let's see here, because his arm's it's a little short from how I did him. Anyway. So we'll skip this pose. Here's a good one. This is the drama of baseball type pose to me. So this looks to me like he's reacting to just after the batter hit the ball. He might be like somewhat still recovering from the pitch he just threw. And he's keeping an eye on on the player isn't keeping his glove open and ready in case the ball gets thrown to him, so that he might need to tag someone out. Or actually, no, this is not a pitcher. I'm sorry, it's not a pitcher. This is a guy. This is a baseman, I think. This is a baseman and like anticipating having a ball thrown to him. That's what it looks like to me. Now it's a question of is he reacting to shit that's happening off camera, that where the ball's getting thrown around and he's waiting for the ball. He's like there's a baseman running towards him off camera, and there's a ball that's gonna he's looking for when the ball's gonna come, and he's keeping an eye on he's keeping an eye on the runner, so he can make the move to like tap the base when the ball gets thrown to him. Is that what's happening, or is he like reacting at the very moment that to like when is he reacting like the very moment that the ball got hit, and he's just starting to read the situation and make his move, or is he reacting, or is he anticipating just the moment before the ball gets thrown to the batter? And so he's like keeping himself open for different action, but he's really, really coiled up in anticipation. So that'd be my question there. If you don't know the action, try to wrap your head around the possibilities of what's going on there. If you aren't sure what actually did happen before and after, because then you start thinking about like the problem solving of what could happen. And indeed, like I think almost all the things I said could have been valid for what happened there. Like they would just play out very differently if you're going to animate that. Like that pose he was in could be a valid pose for any of those scenarios I suggested. But there might be further kind of sleuthing evidence you could look for in the pose that might signify things one way or another. So I'm kind of keeping things really simple and line of action-y right now. Let's see, I need to kind of maybe recalibrate myself a little bit. Do some of the stickmans. For inventions. So I want to challenge you guys, if you have done like breakdowns of those studies of stuff and thought about what's happening there, when you're doing invented poses, start thinking about those things in the back of your head. Like I'm thinking right now a little bit about some of what I saw in that guy's tilt of his hips in that last pose, even as I'm like doing these little kind of quick inventions. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
T-minus 3 minutes and 6 seconds.
Cool. All right, so then we'll make this should be the last pose tonight. I might give us a little extra time because there's two figures here. But this is a this is a really great sports photography moment that was used for some kind of ad. But you can see how the bodies read against each other, like the drama of the thrust of the guy making the dunk. He's holding the ball almost like a sword or something. And the other guy is holding the ball like a sword or like some kind of magical orb or some kind of thing. You can invent a lot of fantasy drama out of seeing sports stuff. just kind of getting like the underlying gesture here a little bit. I think this guy's actually further down, right here. It gives me more space for his arms. I'm actually spending a lot of time looking at what I'm looking at, what's on screen versus what's on my drawing space. So I want to kind of get the feeling down a little bit. So once I do, lower opacity on it and start thinking about it a little bit more. See what I got off, maybe, and adjust. For example, let's see here. You're not a slave to your initial gesture. You can adjust it as you need with another pass, for example. Oop, we'll spend more time on that guy. So he's got very like kind of angelic legs. His legs kind of remind me of like some of the Renaissance art we were looking at with angelic figures sort of floating through the heavens and stuff. This other dude here, I can certainly think of classical art. Characters making like some kind of primal scream, almost kind of gesture of some kind. Forceful gestures and so thinking a little bit more about what's actually happening here action-wise. This guy sailing up to deliver a dunk into the hoop that's like right about here. Now that I adjusted. This guy is really pushed back. You could go nuts with exaggerating this for sure. Okay, Google, stop. Anyway, so this has been a fun, productive evening. Almost nearly quitting time, but I'd like to take a look at what people have done. I hope tonight has loosened people up a bit. Certainly started to get me back into the groove. Yeah, these are actually really, these are good. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, when you do action studies, if you're thinking through a thought process of stuff, like, even if your poses are not the best, like, putting arrow indicators on stuff and, like, making notes about things to understand things makes even, like, you're not your best drawings really valuable pieces of information for you. And it frees you up mentally a little bit. Like, you don't have to worry about making the world's best drawing. It's just about understanding what you're seeing. And trying to get it functional so that you can take it and then start building off the action to do something like this. It's like thumbnails for story or animation. So I'm thinking that next Friday we will probably do whatever is the next logical step of what we did today is. I want to continue with this kind of momentum of action stuff. So we might actually get into some more animating. We kind of did today, didn't we? With this sort of thumbnail thing. So I'm going to recommend anyone who, if you have animation software of some kind, maybe try doing something like this. And if you do something like this, then in my personal Discord, right here, which I'll bring on screen, where it's more easily viewed. In my personal Discord here, then you can go down to the animation section, and you can post it in animation feedback, right here, for some feedbacks. So I'm going to actually do that myself. Mind you, these poses are not timed out, so this probably goes by a little bit quick to critique, but I'll maybe upload another version of it later. I at least want to show people how they upload, so like Oh, here we go. I'm gonna make a GIF out of it. Crotch kick demo 1A. Here we go. Export this. Let's take a look at what people have done tonight. So show off your best work or your most recent work or whatever. And I'll take a look at it before we head out for the evening. So let's see. Oh, also stick around. We're gonna raid someone at the very end. I'm gonna have you all raid some kind of artist somewhere. Oh yeah, Zav. Oh, Zav posted this in animation. That's neat. Anyway, so let's see here. Got here. What was I doing? Yeah. Those are nice. Oh yeah. What I was gonna say is if you want, yeah, post it in animation feedback. I was gonna post mine in animation feedback. That's what I was gonna do. I lost my train of thought. So there we go. Also, there was these that I did last week. I definitely want to return to doing these because this was a really great tool. I may see if I can do something along these lines tomorrow because that's going to help me getting back into drawing shape a little bit. Like challenge me with some figures, so I'm not letting my proportions go too loosey-goosey. But yeah, you can time out your boards a little bit more than I did if you want to post them. But if you make thumbnail boards or animation out of these poses, please post them in animation feedback for sure. I also have a storyboarding section, so if they are more like storyboarding, if they're more like storyboard poses, you can post them there. But more or less, like since this is a very action study oriented exercise, you do them there. And also, I want to talk a little bit about this that I'm going to put on screen right now. So this folder that I made that has tons of like dynamic figures and stuff in it. Actually, let me drag it here. It's probably better if I put it here. All those yellow gaps all over this looks like shit. Jesus. So, put that back there then. So, the folder that I made is full of tons of reference of like really dynamic poses, and there's also a lot of like kind of animation planning things in here. I linked that in the drawing corner chat. Yeah, I'm streaming a little bit longer. Very silly hats. I'm streaming a little bit longer because we're going to be rating someone, and also I wanted to talk a little bit about this because this folder that I made will be pretty useful for getting inspirational material because of, well, for example, stuff like this. There's a lot of stuff in here that shows a sequence almost like animation or alternate poses of a character or stuff. This kind of looks like it's a sequence. It might not necessarily be, but it sort of kind of feels like it. But there are other things like here. For example, this is like planning for like game animation in Darksiders 3. Just as like an example. There's a lot of like game animation planning things like these, which can help, which kind of show you a little bit of like the thought process you might go through when you're designing an action stuff. These were for games, but you can also plan stuff like this for characters for your films or whatever. You might use a very different camera angle to plan what's actually happening versus how you actually choose to stage it. Also, if you notice, like the core of what we're doing and stuff, like this is all rooted in the same kind of gesture stuff that we're practicing. This is just with more elaborate knowledge and structure. Whoops. Wow, what the hell did I just bump into? This is all. It's all done with more. That's a GIF, I guess. Okay. That's with a lot more elaborate structure on top of it. Yeah, like concepts of thief movement and stuff. I'm not sure what these are for. These look like they might be for a game. Wow, there's even more on this page. Good find. Choi Jung-wook. Let's see what his body of work is. Choi Jung-wook. Art station. He's got an art station. It's not a lot there, but I'll follow him. And let's maybe like that, because that looks neat. So I'll remember to look at him later. And that's really nice. Check that out. Like it's you'll see like blurring sections of the body that are in motion. Even show up that little thing shows up in like storyboard art a lot lately. Yeah, here's him planning out, like, I don't know if this is for a game or whatever, but I mean you can do this kind of planning for like this looks like it's for like a side scroller game or something. Um, but you can do this kind of planning for even like actions in cinema and like cinematic film stuff in order to kind of like figure out the choreography without worrying about the camera angle as much, like the dance of the battle or whatever. Here's some more stuff here of like sword and melee weapons. This one's of a concepts for like what looks like a spear thrust and a spear throw. You can also like try out the characters that you want to animate in different action poses and different things happening. Here's a sequence right here, I think, of dancing. Yeah. Not really animation per se, but it is a sequence of action happening. More comic booky, I would say. There's also like a lot of stuff like this is motionless picture entertainment right here, and it's in its most action-oriented form. Like this is not moving, but there are visual tricks here to make it feel like it's moving. So in a single drawing, that we feel like that there's a lot of movement that's happening. So yeah, feel free to like take the like what I would say is like if you're when you're practicing, you should be doing a mix of like kind of more ordered anatomy practice and a more ordered figure practice, and then also like cut loose and just do like wild loose gestural stuff that where you don't necessarily worry about it being a shitty drawing. You're pushing just how crazy you can get with it and how much fun you can have with it. And glancing through something like this will help you kind of vibe into that. Anyway, we're going to raid someone. So let's figure out who we're going to raid. I would ideally want to raid someone who is an artist I know, or an artist that looks like someone you guys can ask questions of and learn some more things from after on the tail end of what we did today. Meg Animation might be a good one for that. Rika Draws, who we rated last time, might actually be good for it. But let's take a look at let's see what these three guys are up to. Sam Green Media, what's he doing? He's actually doing animation. I need to remember what he does. Let's see here. So, Rika Draws is doing a Mario commission, looks like. And Meg Animation. Let's do Meg Animation. All right, so I'll see you guys in there. We'll give them a raid. So let's make sure we get everyone in. We got like, what, 30 people here? Let's make sure everyone, as many people are on board as we can get. "17 viewers ready to raid." We can do more. There's 31 viewers there's 31 viewers here. Let me shut it there. Yeah, I'll see you over there. I'll hang around in her chat for a little while. But I got in trouble the last couple times I was in there for trying to like say, "Oh, you can link your socials," and then I link my Discord, and I said, I didn't really have any socials. I can only link my Discord." Well, if they ask me that again, I'll kind of maybe shy away from it and just like let her do her thing, because I don't want to piss off the mods again like last time. There we go. So I think we're as close as we're going to get to how, yeah, 10 seconds. I'll see you guys over there then. Thank you all for coming tonight. Well, I'll see you guys Friday and on Saturday. Bye-bye.